What's going on, my fellow Kobe here with another Warframe video. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. Thank you guys so much for subscribing and liking the video. And if you haven't been subscribed as yet, please do so now. I really do appreciate it. So today's video will be going over Mirage, since the new event with the, I believe it's the New Year's event. I remember what it's called, the Year of the Snake. So there's this really cool Mirage skin and a bunch of other skins as well. Skins for the Hesper, a bunch of ribbons, Kuv, and all that stuff. So I haven't had like the best passion for Mirage, so I decided I'm gonna go ahead and get this skin for her, right? So I could go ahead and then have some drip for my Mirage. And whilst doing so, I decided, you know what? Let me go ahead and get a Mirage build video out in the same time span, right? Because I've worked on two builds recently that I've really been enjoying. One is more so for like crowd control. The other one is just surviving and doing as much damage as possible. Well, both of them are very damage forward, but one of them is more so akin to the traditional means of survivability, using like crowd control and shield gating to some degree. And the other one is more so geared towards just surviving, right? You'll see the builds in a short minute. I'm just showing you guys that here we also have the chroma stuff back from the last one here, the last year's event, the one I believe it was the Year of the Dragon. So yeah, so we have a bunch of skins in the shop, a few of them that I don't have, a few of them that I'm thinking about getting, haven't gotten yet. But yeah, we also have Boltor skin, but I won't be getting that. But yeah, so this is my fashion for Mirage. Let me know if you guys like it. I just tried throwing some stuff together very quickly. I really like the color purple on here. I also have it in green. I'm not sure if I love the Sayandana on this. I was thinking about using the I believe it's called the Grax Sayandana. I do believe I show it off here in a bit. Yeah. So this is the Sayandana that I'm talking about, right? This one right here. I like how it looks, but I don't like how it looks at the same time, right? Like, it looks cool, but I don't feel like it fits the theme that I'm aiming for, which I don't really have a theme. I just think the long drapey Sayandana kind of looks more elegant, so I decided to do that, right? So taking a look at the Mirage's abilities and her passive. For her passive, she just pretty much has like faster movement speed when it comes onto parkour, so she has more parkour velocity, a lot more rolling speed and all that stuff. First ability is Hall of Mirrors. You create up to 4 doppelgangers of yourself, which deal a percentage of your damage. Mine are dealing 43 based on strength. Right, and we have Sleight of Hand, which essentially is her main crowd control in her normal kit, which these draw the attention of enemies, and with the augment they explode and do a bunch of damage, but they do sacrifice pickups like ammo drops, health orbs, and energy orbs, so you might want to be careful of that. And when it comes on to the third ability is her most known ability, and this is also her subsume. This is Eclipse, which has 2 modes. Tap gives you damage reduction up to 90%, and hold gives you a temporary damage increase, which is very, very good. And when it comes on to her fourth ability, this is Prism. You essentially throw out a ball of light, Kamehameha style, and you throw it out there, and it deals a bunch of damage. Like, this deals a bunch of damage. This is very easy to like clear rooms, especially if you're doing stuff in like void capture missions, or void fisher missions, I should say. Very good for running, all of that stuff. All of her abilities work out really well, some better than some in certain cases, right? And I have 2 builds here, as I said prior in the video. We have a evade video using Sado 9's helmet. So we have Corrosive Projection, Rolling Guard, Prime Flow, Narrow-Minded, Hall of Malevolence, Blind Rage, Continuity, Prime Continuity, Equilibrium, and Augur Secrets. We have Arcane Corpuscular and Augmented, Molt Augmented. So we have a bunch of ability strength on here, and a lot of duration to ensure that casting my abilities as least as possible. Just ensure that I have, you know, all the necessary duration, especially when it comes on to evade, because the longer you're invisible, the longer you survive. And yeah, so moving on to the weapons themselves, right, before we take a look at the second build. This right here is my Boltor Prime. I'm just using the Boltor just because it's one of the weapons that also got a new skin, and I think it's pretty cool. It's like the little brother of the Burston, but I guess it does fit in a little bit more damage in some cases than the Burston, but the Burston is still a better weapon to use because the Burston has a larger ammo mag and you're able to just spray. But yeah, so this is my Viral Heat build using Primary Deadhead, and I do have this ribbon right here. This ribbon does make a big difference, seen as the bolter has a forward ribbon disposition. But if you don't have the ribbon, you could always swap this out for something like Prime Shred. You could also swap this out for any form of Bane mod that you want to put here. So you could put a Bane of the Orican, Bane of the Grenier, anything of that sort. You could go ahead and swap it out for that, or even Critical Delay if you want more crit chance, right? And these are the evolutions. We have for ammo efficiency and base damage, and we also have reload speed and critical base critical chance increased by 14%. You could go a combo build, which is essentially give you half crit, half status, but I decided to lean heavily into crit because this is a weapon that does kind of have good status chance regardless. And right here for secondary, we have the Kuva Nucor. We're currently running this right here with the new Enervate, secondary Enervate, whatever it's called, right? The ribbon really doesn't matter because it's a dispo of one. You could just go ahead and swap this out for more multi-shot, more fire rate, whatever you want to, right? It really doesn't matter. You could also go put Creeping Bullseye here, but, you know. So essentially what this arcane does is gives you it increases crit chance per hit by 10% up until you get big crits, which are, I believe, orange crits. But with this build, you'll be hitting red crits ever so often. Like, it's actually really good, and it makes it so great for DPSing. Like, it's crazy. And this is my Magistar build that you guys see me use all the time. This right here is the Worm Prime that I always use, so nothing different here, right? With the Verglass. And this right here is the second build. So this is, I say main here on the label, but it's not really the main build. I use them depending on whatever I'm using it for. This one only has some slight differences, just giving her more range, not as much duration, and also giving her a lot more swapping out Crepuscular for Arcane Avenger for more crit chance, right? And when it comes on to Archon Shards, because I don't believe I showed them off in the video, this one here is running Breach Surge, so that's his Wisp's ability before I even get to the Archon Shards. So using Wisp's ability, this is my one of two main ways of surviving on this build. So her main kit when it comes on to actually surviving is pretty much killing the enemies before they can kill you, right? That's like how most people see Mirage. However, what most people don't know is when you're using your first ability, the enemies do get distracted by your first ability and aim at your doppelgangers. Therefore, a lot of the times they're not aiming to hit you. So as long as you're keeping mobile, and you'll see it in some of my gameplay, where the moment my doppelgangers go away is when my shields actually break and I actually start taking real damage, because my doppelgangers aren't there. The enemies now can focus on shooting at Mirage, right? So you want to ensure that your one is up and you're moving around a lot, and you're spamming or using Breach Surge as much as you can to blind the enemies, right? So that's how the crowd control-esque build works, right? So you see me using Breach Surge. It multiplies the damage once the enemies are affected, and it cascades off to other enemies. Very, very good for dealing damage. Very, very good for crowd controlling, right? And for this right here is just for me showing off the Nucor and showing exactly what the Nucor could do. Like, it puts the nuke in Nucor, right? This secondary Enervate, or whatever it's called, that arcane, it's a game changer on Nucor, right? And here I am showing off the fourth ability, showing exactly just how strong it is. It could go ahead and nuke rooms, especially if it's a room with like a low ceiling, because this thing does bounce around and go all over the place, and you're not fully incentivized of using it because the casting animation is so long and it keeps you rooted in a vulnerable position. So tying that back to my Archon Shards, my Archon Shards are 2 for casting speed, and I believe 3 red shards for duration, or 2 red shards for duration and 1 for strength. I'll verify and let you guys know before the video ends, right? But regardless, you just pretty much just need like the casting speed ones. Those are the ones that I think would make this build, or make any Mirage build, extremely comfortable. Just using casting speed shards. I wouldn't say use natural talent because that's like a waste of a mod slot. But yeah, and this right here is me showing off the evade build, which essentially just you just go invisible. You hit headshots to stay. You hit headshot kills or weak spot kills to stay invisible, and that's pretty much it for like the evade build. You just stay invisible, deal a bunch of damage. The enemies can't see you, therefore they can't hurt you, right? And starting off this Steel Path run, I'll go ahead and pop an energy pad just to start the mission off right. And this build right here, or this run right here is using the evade build, because I do think it is going to be the most popular of the two. I think this build makes the most sense for casual play or endurance play. Potentially the breach surge build is more akin for like exterminate missions or capture missions, quicker missions where you don't necessarily need to be invisible. So I think anything when it comes on to survivability or anything comes on to like long mission types, the evade build is definitely the one to go for, and then the breach surge is just for like everyday missions or anything that you don't necessarily need to be in the mission for a long time for, therefore you don't need to be invisible for a long time, right? If you're moving a bunch, all that stuff, right? So right here you guys can see the Boltor is shredding through these enemies. Like half the time I won't even need to go in Incarnon mode on the Boltor for it to actually chew through these enemies, right? Like it does so much damage just off the build itself that you don't necessarily need to actually go in Incarnon form, right? And as you guys can see, when it comes on to like just overall survivability, you don't really ever have to worry when it comes on to this build, because you're invisible. Enemies can't see you, they can't hurt you. If they can't see you, the only thing that you really need to worry about every now and then are like Eximus abilities. And seeing this build doesn't have like prime sure-footed, you may get knocked down by like a enemy doing a special attack, or Eximus doing one of those weird like the last Eximuses may just be targeting randomly and it hits you and knocks you down, and then things could go haywire from there. But it's so not likely to happen that you're pretty much safe 90% of the time. But I'd still say if you do have sure-footed or prime sure-footed, go ahead and put it on, or even power drift to get that slight more strength as well as the knockdown resistance, even though it's just like 15%. But hey, better than nothing. Right, and here I am showing off what the nuke core can do, and as you guys can see, the nuke core gets up there in red crits every now and then, right? And the fact that I have like Arcane Crepuscular for the extra crit damage, the nuke core is doing a boatload of damage, because normally it does like my normal build, what it has is like 12x damage, right? Especially if you want to go ahead and put on like Tenacious Bond on your companion, you'll get even more damage out of this. It's just that I didn't want to go ahead and use anything besides Worm, because Worm is just one of my favorite companions, and I didn't really think about that at the time of making the video, right? But for you guys, if you want to maximize on the damage output, go ahead and slap on Arcane. Arcane. Go ahead and slap on Tenacious Bond on your Sentinel or on whatever companion you choose to use, and you'll get even more performance out of these weapons, right? And as you guys can see, the Acolyte spawned in and disappeared just by me using the Burstin. The Boltor, right? And here I am just slamming with the Magistar, just one-shotting it. But as you guys can see, the Boltor dealt with the first Acolyte so quickly that I didn't even really realize what's going on. Like, I had to double take and look back and say, oh wow, right? And that's pretty much the first mission run, or using the first build. I just want to go ahead and show up the second build as well. This right here is like a 10-minute mission, up to 730 kills, which we could do a lot more if I was moving around much more, right? And here we go. So it's the same. Like start off using Madurai. We do a couple of Void Slings, and we go ahead and cast Eclipse to get our damage buff. Go ahead and cast our first ability to multiply that damage even more, and then we go ahead and cast Breach Surge every now and then. Especially if our shield breaks, we just go ahead and cast Breach Surge a couple times to both blind the enemies and get back a little bit of our shields. So since we have Augur Reach and Augur Secrets on here, so you just want to go ahead and cast your abilities to ensure that you're, slightly bringing back your shields every time it breaks, to ensure that you don't, lose your shields and go down. And when it comes down to both of these builds, as I said, this one is primarily just to deal a bunch of damage and like just run through the missions. You do have other nuking builds or I wouldn't classify this as a nuking build, but you do have nuking builds when it comes on to Mirage, especially using her 4th ability. So if you want to use one of those, be my guest. But these are just 2 builds that I think are extremely fun and really chill to use. This one is a lot less chill because you have to be moving a lot more, which is a lot more active playing style. But then again, if you're using Mirage, you're pretty used to playing active. So yeah, so this would probably be right up your alley. You know, just keep moving, keep shooting, and you'll be fine.
Capsule! These don't grow on trees, you know.
And when it comes to the Acolyte here, I decided to go into the defensive form of Eclipse, and accidentally, right? So it tanked my damage a little bit. But here I am, I slammed with the Magistar, and I decided to try out hitting him or finishing them off with the Nuke Core. However, I wasn't hitting my shots with the Nuke Core, therefore I just was like actually doing any damage. But then I just went ahead and said, you know what, let me just go ahead and stop messing around, and then I just decided to just smack him with the Magistar, right? And for this run, I just went in and stayed in like 5 minutes, just because I was like, yeah, you guys probably get the idea. This build is also pretty strong, but you have to be very, very active when it comes on to playing it, and then you'll maximize on your damage output and all that stuff. But yeah, thank you guys so much for stopping by. That's pretty much it for today's video. I want to say thank you guys so much. Please remember to like the video, subscribe, and yeah, peace. Have a wonderful weekend.